Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Gal.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And Spence is here.
Hello.
And Nick is here.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype, and today's show is made possible by VMix Software, by DudeInIT.com, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. I'm doing fine, Nick. Thank you.
Excellent.
How are you doing? We missed
pretty
you.
Good. Well,
How you doing? How you doing?
I will say this: we are rapidly approaching municipal elections, so I will likely be in and out the next couple of weeks as well. Lots of events going on between now and November 2nd, I think, is election day.
Ours is interesting. It's when it's Apex City Council, but it's
just
oh
municipal.
my gosh.
So if you don't know what's going on, make sure you check out your local board of elections because there's likely an election. Early voting starts Thursday. So, yep.
And you already see a bunch of ads for this and that. I mean, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Only 2021. But that's for 2022. Absolutely. Well,
I did it.
You did it. You did it. You sure did. Yeah. Tell us about it.
Windows 11. It's great. Did the update on Wednesday afternoon, I guess. Downloaded the checker tool. The Microsoft has a Windows 11 checker utility that you can download, a little MSI. I think it might be called like Windows Health or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it told me that I did not have TPM enabled. So I restarted my computer, went into the BIOS, and by default, my Asus motherboard was set for a discrete TPM device, meaning a secondary, there's headers on the motherboard where you can insert a TPM device, which obviously I don't have. So I switched it over to the Ryzen, the CPU TPM device, and changed that over, rebooted, ran the health checker again. It said, okay, TPM 2.0, you're good to go. And then downloaded the media creation tool, and similar to the way that you would force a Windows update through the media creation tool, it was the Windows 11 update tool. And maybe 45 minutes start to finish by the time it downloaded and verified, installed. The quickest part, which I was surprised with, you spend a lot more time in Windows. It seems to do a lot of the install and prep work while you're still in Windows 10. You can still use your computer. Once it rebooted and it's setting up, that was only maybe 10 minutes. So the actual downtime, if you still need to use your computer, is quite limited. Because obviously while it's installing, verifying the integrity, and getting ready to reboot, you can still use your computer like normal. So yeah, pretty smooth process. No issues. Just had to make a tweak to the navigation bar to move it over to the left-hand side because it's center by default, and that's about it. No other problems.
When did the Microsoft people show up?
Well, I got a phone call from them first, and they said, hello, this is Microsoft support. And I said, oh, okay, great. You can help me with my Windows 11 upgrade. And then
they
I
come
gave
to
them
your
my
door.
social security number and my credit card, and then they gave me the update. It was great.
They come and inspect every home now to make sure it's a suitable environment for Windows 11. It's kind of like when you adopt a cat and they want to come and look at the environment for the cat. So
I
they
was
come and look
going
at
to
the
adopt a
environment for Windows
cat.
11.
I was going to adopt a cat from one place, and they tried to do that, and I was not interested. So I went and found another cat at a different place, and the
Nick,
rest is history.
is everything running? You did
Yeah.
not have any kind of
The important things, right? For at least for me, vMix,
right.
Voice meter. I use virtual audio. So that spit out right out of the gate. The only thing, if you want to call it an issue, is that, and this happens with regular Windows updates too. Some updates will reset your default sound devices.
Right.
I also did a GPU driver update as well, and those, because the NVIDIA cards have audio outputs for HDMI and DisplayPort, sometimes that changes the audio devices too. So I don't know which one actually changed it, but if you want to call that an issue, my only issue was having to go into the Windows sound settings and resetting my default sound device and default communication device. My MIDI controller still works, Voice meter works, vMix works, my Samba printer works, my network shares still work. There really isn't any, I haven't encountered any issues.
That kind of a glitch is not unexpected with a new install.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah. So that, I mean, if you want to call that an issue, that's the issue. Other than that, it's Windows 11 is pretty. Let's see. I don't know if you guys are interested.
There's one thing that I would hold off. If you don't want your taskbar on the bottom, don't upgrade yet.
Well, where is
there's no, it's only on the bottom.
Way to move it. It's only on the bottom. Yeah.
They changed that.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird choice. I booted it up in a VM to take a look at it, and because I use large screens, I use the taskbar on the side. I think it's a better use of real estate. So I have two screens. I have one huge one in front of me, and there it's on the side, and I have another one which is in portrait mode. It's tilted to the side, and there I have it on the top. I think top will work, but on the side won't. So for now, I'll hold on it to see if Microsoft themselves come up with a solution, because I'm thinking it'll piss off a lot of people.
Kyle, just turn the monitor another 90 degrees on its side, and then the taskbar will be on the side.
Let's let Nick talk so we can see what he's showing us.
I mean, so like this is the biggest change. You know, they've changed the icons and whatnot in File Explorer.
See the entire screen.
No, this is just this PC window. Yeah. So you can just see the icons are a little bit different, but all the network drives are still there. Everything is curved. Everything's got a bit of a round curve to it now that you can see. But I mean, and the taskbar at the bottom looks different than it used to a little bit. Looks a little bit different.
No,
other than that,
there are no icons on the right. Sys tray, I mean.
What do you mean? Sys tray.
I don't see the sys tray.
Yeah, Amnon, you usually crop the image, so it's on the bottom and you can't see it.
Oh, well, I see the other icons.
What sys tray is he talking about?
You know, where it shows you the time.
No, there's no.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's on that side, but this isn't my main monitor, so you're not going to see that. But yeah, it's normally over there in the right-hand corner. This is my second screen. And you can configure how you want that. But I mean, that and obviously the one thing, I'm not going to call it an issue, is we're all familiar of going down to the taskbar, right-clicking and opening Task Manager. Mm-hmm. They've gotten rid of that, which is kind of a pain. But if you right-click on the Start button, you have Task Manager, and that's how you get to that now. Which again, I wouldn't call a major issue, but that was the only thing.
Escape, man. Control Shift Escape. Yeah, nobody uses the mouse for that.
I do, and so that and again, how often am I opening Task Manager? Not very often. But in terms of quote unquote issues, that's it. And that's not an issue. Just right click on the start button now. And of course, if that, you're one of these people that can't deal with change or it all needs to look the same, I'm sure you can install classic shell and run it the same as you used to. I don't have any interest in that. But other than that, a smooth upgrade. It was not available in the Windows 10, the default updater, right? You click Windows updates. Some people you might see it in there, some people you might not. But Microsoft makes it pretty easy if you go to their website to download there's two different things. There's the media creation tool, which allows you to create an ISO file or a bootable USB. You don't want that one. And then there's the Windows 10 update utility. That's the one you want if you're doing it on the same machine. I made the mistake of running the media creation tool first, and I didn't want to install it on another machine. And then, installed, update, verified, and 45 minutes later, Windows 11 up and running, no issues. So
actually, this is a good story because you would expect if you weren't doing a clean install that there would be more issues.
Yeah.
That's
well,
good.
and I'm gonna, I did the same thing with Windows 10. I updated from. I don't remember if I was running 8.1 or if I may still been running 7. I upgraded.
I think you had to have been running 8. I don't think there was a direct upgrade.
So then maybe I was.
It was from 8. It was from 8
for 10.
Yeah. So I don't.
For
7 to 10.
Oh, yeah,
I guess you can
7
go
to
direct.
10. Absolutely.
So okay, so I think I did have 7, and I upgraded to 10 the Tuesday that it became available. And obviously, with Infection Podcast being on Tuesday, I made the smart decision to wait until Wednesday to do it. But my I've got some devices. I got an HDMI capture card that worked. I've got a MIDI device that worked. I've got an ASIO audio interface that worked.
Wow.
Now,
I mean, yeah, obviously, use will vary if you're using specific applications, but as I've been telling people, it's the same core as Windows 10. So if your application worked in Windows 10, there is probably a 90, if not 95% chance your older programs will likely work on 11 because it's the same core. It's a little bit snappier. I think they've changed the duration of the transition window when you click on something on the taskbar and it kind of goes up. They've made that a little bit quicker, but I've got a fast computer, so I'm not sure that I would even really notice any of the other feature fast improvements just based on what I've got. So,
which OS was it that had no direct upgrade path? Was it XP to 7?
XP to 7.
Wait a second. So it wasn't 7.
That's right.
7 went directly to, I can't remember.
No, it was
7 did go directly to 10 because I was running, so I did not run 8.1.
It was
I had
XP
one
to 7
machine. Yeah, XP to 7 was it had to be a clean install.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gal, you were trying to say something?
Two things. One, I think the most interesting thing we're getting in Windows UI wise is the snap option.
Yes.
So if there's one reason yes to upgrade, like for usability, I think that one is the most substantial one, especially if you have a large screen. Snap is just a trick of managing multiple windows very easily. You don't even need to drag and drop. Just right click the maximize button. So go to the maximize button and right click. Hold on. Say something.
But mine's not working. If I click maximize, it just brings it full.
You don't see your icon. You need to be on the maximize button.
This one right here?
Right click.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, I like that.
Okay, will somebody tell me how to pin one?
You don't need to pin me.
click,
I'm just going to show real quick. You don't need to pin me. Okay, so here's all. Let me zoom in on that so that we can all see it. Give me a minute here. So there's all the different automatic snap things. So you can quit instead of as you previously in Windows, you'd have to drag it to a corner of the screen and try to get it to match up. But now you can just click one of these and it looks like it will simply fit one of those zones. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and they figured out it's
and you can also still drag as well.
The dragging. People didn't get dragging. A lot of
but the dragging does still work.
Yeah. The dragging works pretty much the same way, but they still have that. And
that's cool.
And one important plug today is if you don't have TPM and you don't have a GPU and you want to build the best PC ever, Epic for this week has the PC building simulator for free.
Yeah, they do.
The Epic Game Store.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty funny.
if you want to play around with high-end builds, I'm guessing there's a lot of microtransaction inside that. So I wouldn't go that far.
No, actually, I don't think there is.
But it looks like a neat game. I'm downloading it.
Yeah, it's you are essentially from what I remember, you're like a PC support technician. So people bring their computers over to you, and you make a little bit of money, and then you can buy parts. It's like
cool.
the dregs of the IT world in the simulator. If you didn't get enough of it during your workday, Gal.
No, I don't deal with PCs. Come on.
That's true.
So.
It seems like you deal with a lot of other people's PCs, though. You are I would assume you're the hot dial for many people's PC problems.
I deal with stuff after the PC works. So, but yeah, I just find.
So I would encourage people.
Somebody made a game like this. That's all.
If I would encourage people to go ahead and update. No reason not to, unless like Gal mentioned, unless you have a use case in case you use the sidebar or the taskbar differently. But other than that, if you're just if you're a modest user, definitely. If you're a little bit more of an advanced user, as long as you meet the specifications, you can go ahead and do that.
Nick, are you reading the
If you
chat?
don't like change, wait for things to settle down. But if
true.
that's and that's probably the same with anything else. It's just understand that it's going to change the way you use the computer a bit. Things are going to move around. You might need to tweak with settings to get it closer to what you prefer. I see Nick uses the taskbar on the left side, aligned to the left side like it used to be, because the default today is in the center.
Correct.
So stuff like that. Just know that you're about to see a bunch of change forced on you from Microsoft, because they probably think they have a better way of doing it than before. But I'm also guessing, if you remember Windows 8, Windows 8 start menu was a terrible experience for a lot of people. It was shoved down everybody's throat. And then, right, when they updated stuff, then they moved back to a start menu without switching screens. So I'm guessing this is something like this. This is Microsoft's attempt at trying to force everyone to a new paradigm of usage. We can't move the taskbar and stuff like that.
It's going to be interesting to see with the current economic and supply chain market how this is going to work. A lot of companies, I'm sure, will hold off where they can, but I don't know. I go into some customers and their hardware is not compatible.
Most people's will not be.
Yeah. So it's going to be buying new machines, and are companies focusing on those new machines?
Right. And now there's there's stop with new machines for a while, at least for smaller players. So yeah.
I guess the only saving grace is if you're in the I'm not going to say enterprise, but if you're in the larger than maybe 50 employees space, if you've got any sort of recent laptop with all of the biometrics that those laptops have, all of that stuff is on TPM. Where if you've got a fingerprint reader or a key card, which if you're getting an HP ProBook or a Dell, somebody help me out. What is their business line? The Latitudes or not the Latitudes, the XPS models. Those all based just because they have some of those security and BitLocker things for users that travel. That stuff should work. But again, if you're on an older hardware, and realistically, this isn't a problem for 5 more years, I think is end of support for 10, and then end of life is Well, no, but end of life is 5 years from now. I think end of support is 2 years. But a Wiggs is saying, I paid a lot of money for Office. Why do I have to have a Microsoft account? I mean, I've got a copy of Office as well, and my copy is fine. I've got Office 2019.
He's talking about
which is
365 was broke.
Well, 365
hold on.
365 is a subscription, so that doesn't make any sense.
No, hold on. This is important. Your Windows user, is that whatchamacallit? It's that
No, it's a local account.
Right. And you didn't fresh install Windows 11.
Correct.
I believe what he's talking about is nobody can fresh install with a local account now.
Even well, if you don't have an internet connection, you can create a local account.
No, I'm talking about Windows Home. Even if you don't have it,
that was the problem on Windows 10 though. It was Windows 10 had the same issue unless you had not Enterprise Pro, you had to have a Microsoft account. That's the same. They changed that later. That was not the case out of the gate, but then they did in fact change that if you installed a copy of Windows Home, call it maybe three or 4 years ago, you had to have a Microsoft account. If you had Pro, you just didn't connect it to the internet, and then you could create a local account. But that should have no impact over Office. I mean, again, I'm looking at mine right now. I've got a regular Office 2019 license, Microsoft Office Professional Plus 2019. There's no problems with that.
The thing that I don't understand here, he says that most people call angry that the Windows Office broke. They had to start paying for Office. What do you mean start?
Well, that I'm not sure what that. I mean, they haven't forced the update on anybody yet, so I don't know. Anybody that updated would have had to do it willingly.
And they actually
Wiggs, call in. I'd like to be able to understand a little bit more of what. No, because I mean there is a subscription to Microsoft if you want to buy that, but you can go and buy an older key. I think 2019 was the last one that they sold as a standalone version. But I've got mine activated here, and no problems with that.
And they actually released Windows 11 a day earlier than what they.
I thought it didn't come out on Friday, or it didn't come out on Tuesday.
It was supposed to be on the 5th. It was on the 4th. And on the 5th, Office, the new Office came out.
Huh. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because it's normally Tuesday. That's their big thing, Patch Tuesday.
Yeah, they said Windows 11 is now officially available to download, while Microsoft is launching Windows 11 powered hardware worldwide on October 5th. The company has made the OS update available early for eligible devices. In New Zealand and beyond. Well, whatever that.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I was about to say. New Zealand, it was already the 5th.
Oh.
New Zealand is the first time zone that hits. So
okay. So maybe that's what it was. I thought that they made it actually available.
So here's the thing. Obviously, change for the sake of change. Well, not change, more like large stack. Yeah, I mean, Wiggs, I get it. But what exactly is the issue, though? I mean, they're not standalone copies of Office do still work on Windows 11. Here's the thing. Microsoft is going to update their operating system. They've always done it. Apple always does it. Their users don't bitch and complain. Windows users bitch and complain, and that's why you see some of the issues you see with Windows. Frankly, to be blunt about it, I think that's the. Can I borrow your 2019 disk? It's not a disk. I just installed Microsoft Office directly from Microsoft and put in my product key.
That's okay, but it's fun to bitch and moan.
You can go to office.com and download Office, and then I'm running the most recent version of Office, even though it's 29, even though the version is Pro Plus 2019, I'm running the most recent version version 2108, which is the most recent version of Office.
Does anybody?
It just doesn't have the features of 365. Like I'm not. Well, actually, I could log into.
No. But this is your Office logged in with a Windows with a Microsoft account.
No.
So when you go to the About, there's no Microsoft account.
Nope. No, sir.
Yeah, then
Just
I don't know why.
Office
Yeah,
product activated 2019 Pro Plus.
Does anybody have access to a write-up on Microsoft products in general, end of life and end of support, or end of what they call retirement date and end of support?
Microsoft's got it on their
Uh,
website.
I tried to
Yeah,
find it.
just
I couldn't find it.
I'll-
Yeah, I went
what do
to,
you
I
want?
kept different searches I did, and it just, I did find Windows 10 and Home Pro, their support dates and how it
Yes.
says the retirement date for Windows 10 Home and Pro is October 14th, 2025. But that's not the end of support. That's just when they're going to stop.
Windows
So there's a
Office
page-
requires an MS account. Windows can be a local account. I'm not sure. Maybe if you're doing a fresh, I mean, they still sell standalone copies of Office, so I don't know why you wouldn't be able to install it. I can't. I mean, it might be the version. You might have to be clear. If you install a fresh version of Windows, it will install the 365 version of Microsoft or Office by default. That's what it comes with. But if you have a separate version, you should either be able to activate it or download that copy of it using your product key. Because it's the version that does come with Windows, just a fresh if you buy any computer at the store, it's the same way on Windows 10. The version of Office that it comes with is a 365 version, and then you get the choice of if you want to get a subscription.
Yeah,
They
that
don't
just
still.
And you're using Wiggs, you wrote about Outlook. Are you using an Exchange server or are you using the Outlook.com? Spence, did you see the link I put in chat?
No, I didn't. I'm still on the Microsoft page. I'll look.
So there's a list of all of the products that are reaching end of life on 2021. I'm guessing you want per specific product. So which product are you looking for?
No, just in general, because I'm having issues with a small customer now that their hardware is getting long in the tooth and they're going to want to do something. And I just wanted to have a good idea how long their stuff is going to be. They want to stay up to
So
date.
that page that I sent has a listing going from 2019 until 2027. You just click on the links on the side.
Yeah, I'm going there now.
And there's a life cycle FAQ where it explains the whole how this works.
Can you,
right?
Kyle, if you have that open, can you tell us what the deal is with 10? When is the end of support and when is the not deprecation, but when is the
let's see, release end of service. There's end of service and then there's end of support. End of service means they stop selling it, I think, and then it means and end of support means we're no longer dealing with that, right?
And when is that going to be?
Let's see. So this page is focused on the year. So it's everything that's happening in 2021. And Windows 10
is not
Home and Enterprise Edition for 1809 and 1909. So we're dealing today with Windows 10 21, H4, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can search by product. There's a search by product.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too.
I'm looking at that now. Yeah,
they don't make this very simple. Windows Defender. Oh, look at that.
Windows. And
seems like it's going to be in 2020, sometime in 2025, based on some of the dates I'm seeing.
20H4, right?
Yeah.
H2, 20H2. 20H2 to 2025.
Yeah. So you got four years before its end of support or end of life, and then
further extended support. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, as we've seen with XP, Vista, and 7, if there's a major 0-day exploit or something like that, they will push an update. But again, I don't, I could go back from Windows 7 to Windows 8, right? From 7 to 8. I think the argument about not wanting to update made a lot of sense. The Windows 8 UI was awful. The tile menu was retarded, made absolutely no sense. I think there was a valid point there. If you're already a Windows 10 user, I would find it, outside of the issue that Gal talked about, which will either be fixed by Microsoft or there's a classic shell or other taskbar utilities that I'm sure can rearrange it. If you're already a Windows 10 user, I think you will be hard pressed to find many issues with Windows 11. It's the first time they've updated some of the UI stuff in nearly 20 years. Outside of that, I think you would be hard pressed to find a big change. 7 to 8 was a big change, and people not wanting to upgrade, totally understood. But from 10 to 11, I don't think there are those same things.
When you go into deeper nested configuration screens, do you still have the same look and feel like when you go in Windows 10? You've got the setup menu, and then you have control panel.
Yep. So
are those two things still there?
They are. They've updated all of the icons pretty much across. So even control panels got these new kind of
rounded,
flat rounded icons. Right there, not monochrome, but less colors. So they've updated all of that. But for example, stuff like what is this PC? Not this PC. What's the other screen? System information still looks exactly the same as it always has. It's just a regular white dialog box that opens. So even some of those more deeply integrated things like system information, which again, how often are you opening system information? Yeah. They didn't bother updating. But for everything else, the Windows settings menu is updated and it looks nice. They've rearranged it. A lot of the stuff makes a lot more sense where it's nested. And then control panel is still the same. It still has power options, Windows Defender, backup and restore, BitLocker, storage spaces, Windows tools, security and maintenance. All of those under the hood things are still there. I think the settings menu is probably the biggest thing. They've really come around and put a lot of emphasis on keeping that stuff in there. For example, you can actually change the IP address if you want to set a static IP in Windows 10. For the longest time, you still had to go through the control panel, network and internet, and do it in there. With Windows 10, you can now edit and set a static IP or dynamic IP right in the settings menu, which is good, right? No reason to go to the control panel unless you have to. So they've done some of those things that I think are really good. You can change the adapter settings from there now, which is nice.
So it's more intuitive.
Yeah. And then again, if it comes down to it and you want to get really, like, for example, I can disable a network device from the settings menu. You could not do that in Windows 10. You had to do that from control panel. They've integrated that into settings, which is a good idea. I think I'll find myself using control panel very little.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. No, so, I mean,
the real question is control panel still there?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. And it looks
so as long as we can reach out through the old methods, then that's fine.
Different icons, but everything that I'm seeing, and some of the icons still are the same. The network and sharing center, for example, is that same 4-screen thing. That looks exactly the same. But they've added a lot of stuff to the settings, the Windows settings menu, which is a good touch. So
they haven't renamed the network neighborhood or anything like that, right?
No, I think I think that I think that's still in there. What work groups and all that. I'm sure all that stuff is still in there.
It says the hood.
Well, it might, depending on where you're installing Windows 10.
That's what it's called now, the hood.
Yeah. Well, there's different versions. There's the suburban and then the metropolitan versions of Windows.
Well, and there's also the what do you call it? Blue and red city versions.
So
I would encourage people to update.
About TPM. So the article, Microsoft has published a new support webpage where they provide an official method to bypass the TPM 2.0 and CPU checks. TPM 1.2 is still required, and have Windows 11 installed on unsupported systems. It looks like Microsoft couldn't ignore the fact that bypassing TPM checks is fairly simple. So to avoid having people breaking their system by using non-standardized third-party scripts, they decided to just give users an official way to do it. Installing Windows 11 on unsupported hardware comes with some pitfalls that users must be aware of, and in some cases, agree to before the operating system will install. Like your device might malfunction due to these compatibility or other issues. Devices that do not meet these system requirements will no longer be guaranteed to receive updates, including but not limited to security updates. Microsoft explains in a new support bulletin. You will still need you will still require a TPM 1.2 security processor, and I guess most of today's CPUs have it.
Yeah, anything that has any sort of BitLocker or encryption is going to have TPM at least 1.2. So you're talking about probably the last 8 or 9 years, I would guess.
It says we still require a TPM 1.2 security processor, which many will not likely have. If you're missing a TPM 1.2 processor, you can bypass all TPM checks by using this script that deletes appraiser.dll during setup.
Yeah.
And the script
script is like preparing media that does not require TPM. Boot media that does not require TPM. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Well, that's the key to note there. That boot media, if you do not have TPM and you want to bypass, you're going to have to boot from a USB flash drive to do the install. You will not be able to use the Windows 10 updater built into the OS. But let's take this back. What Amnon just said is great. Microsoft saw that individuals, third-party people, were making scripts to bypass TPM, and they said, you know what? Maybe everybody can't get TPM. Let's do that ourselves. Mm-hmm. But it comes with the risk that things might not work correctly. You might not get the updates. And that's when you as the end user need to decide, okay, would I like to run Windows 11 knowing that things might not work correctly? Or do I want to go ahead and bite the bullet and get a new computer that has TPM built into it? That Microsoft would not have done that 15 years ago. They would have allowed the third-party script to just be the third-party script and would not have even referenced that at all. That, to me, that shows a big change in Microsoft's policy about how they handle updates and handle their user base.
Well, I think it's a good change because this means they're willing to take on the support for this, right? The script. If they let the third-party thing sit out there, they say, your problem, you went with a third party, we can't help you. You have to comply. Now, at least they have the script, so you could theoretically, they could give you advice, whereas before it wasn't sanctioned, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing to note here. That really shows a true change in Microsoft policy.
You know who I feel sorry for?
That shows one thing. That shows that they're not Apple.
Yes.
You know who
they listen to their customers.
I feel for the salespeople like Office Depot, Staples. Can you imagine somebody going and want to buy a new computer and he asks the salesperson, does it have TPM too?
They all do. And anything that's coming out today.
And the guy goes, what? I mean, a lot of these salesmen are not technical.
Well, hire better people.
Yeah.
I have to say, Office Depot and Staples, if you got a guy out on the floor who doesn't know, there's somebody there that knows.
And if there's not, then that's a problem in the store.
Yeah.
So they just have to find them. My Best Buy, it's kind of a weird environment over there, but Staples, it's a small store. They don't have a lot of people in there. Office Depot, maybe they run the store during the day with 3 people. A register person, an inventory person, and maybe a floater. Well, they do have their business center too, so they'll have somebody there for printing and so on.
Talking about upgrades or updates, or whatever you want to call it, I, out of the blue, got an email from Facebook saying people that went to your page, Nissan Communications, have suggested some changes. And if you don't, what?
Yeah, that's a pretty common.
It is? Okay, I never seen this. And if you don't,
you can request changes. For example, if you own a bit like a pizza shop and you didn't update your hours, but I know that the hours have changed, I can go on Facebook and say, hey, these are their new hours. And then it will send the admin a message and say, hey, somebody has
interesting. Okay.
somebody has updated, somebody's made a request to change your open hours or something like that. Yeah.
And
Google does the same thing. If you have the Google Business Manager, you can request a change.
The thing is, it says that if I don't comment about it or don't okay it, it will be done anyway.
Good. Yeah.
And
that's the Wikipedia approach.
And I said, what in the hell? It's what, so
I can block it.
Yeah, you can ignore it.
Well, no, I wanted to see first if this was spam or not. I mean, everything looked right. I went in, and when I went in, it showed me what was the change was supposed to be. I had an address, and they said, you should not have an address. I mean, physical address. So they said, here is what it is, and here's what it's going to be. It's going to be blank. I said, oh, okay, fine. So that's interesting. That means, does that mean that somebody went to the Facebook page and said, oh, Amnon's got his address here. It shouldn't be.
Possibly, but more than likely, if you've got, more than likely it's a bot that is indicating that, hey, this is an online business that's not, this was for Nissan Communications or for Delta Force?
Yeah. No, for Nissan Communications.
Yeah. So more than likely it was an algorithm that could tell that it was some sort of online operation and did that. But yeah, Google will do that same thing too.
Okay. I guess I never came across anything.
It doesn't happen often. I mean, there's not, unless you're operating a brick and mortar business where your hours are changing frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And at the same time, I got the thing about updating my Twitch key.
Oh, yes.
I tell you what, let's talk about this when we come back.
More news.
Spence, are you ready for specials?
I am.
Yar.
I am there.
All right. Let me get there. Guess I'm not ready. All right.
And after the specials or sometime in the second half, I had, I said, I got a call from one of my customers just saying that they're still having issues with losing functionality on Windows 10 updates.
We'll talk about it when we come back.
I want to talk about best practices. What I want to write up something to give them to say, here's what you need to do. I mean, I've gone out and done a lot of research.
We'll talk about it when we come back.
Yeah, when we come back. That's what I'm asking. Okay. Computers 2K Now specials for 10-10-21. What? Remember 10-10-10?
Yeah.
It was only 11 years ago, right? 10-10-10. Well, aliens have been watching and have decided to take over. They've promised no more Win 10 updates. Are we willing? I think that's okay. They said they have a better operating system, so we'll see what theirs is. It's got more than just global support. It's planetary support, so that's good.
He is very, very angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Trying to mix it up each week and not go with the same retailers. I actually went out. I knew Tiger Direct was still out there in some way, because I knew a guy who, when they closed their retail operation, he was their business rep, local business rep, who sold to businesses. He says, "Oh no, they're revamping the whole thing. Tiger Direct business could be all online." And I thought, well, now how long will that last? They're still here.
All right.
So Tiger Direct business. There are some deals to be found, but I would say 60 to 70% of their PCs are refurbs. That's not to say that that's not bad if you're looking for something inexpensive, because you can find a couple-year-old machine, decent machine, as a refurb. I don't know what kind of guarantee it comes with, but some of the prices, I didn't show any refurbs here. I just decided not to do that. So this is all new product. So HP Chromebook 11 with an N420 processor, 11 inch. I didn't realize it was still making laptops that small. Must be, it's got to be a pretty popular tablet size for the display, correct? 11.6? Because they wouldn't manufacture a custom size for a notebook. But I digress. 4 gig education version, $249, regularly $299, say 50. Got an Acer Travel Mate i5 8 gig, 256 SSD laptop for $579. Now, here's the thing: you got when you look at Tiger Direct, their discount from list price is insane. I mean, it's not. This is the $579 is probably a little bit lower than normal retail, but the list price, you can't save $570 instantly. It's like, no, I don't really think so.
Yeah,
But-
from its original MSRP, maybe.
Yeah. So that's always, some sites are just that way. That's the way they always
Yeah.
work. But so just check prices. Lenovo TB14S Yoga. This is apparently, I'm seeing more and more of these show up. People like these machines, yoga machines. I'm impartial to, if you can turn it and twist it back against itself and the keyboard is now nested under the display instead of facing outward, might be a good idea. How many people still use Windows Tablet? I don't see them much. Maybe I've gone into some stores where they have a tablet that they use for registering customers and things like that. I never see it as Windows.
Businesses use them.
Maybe they do. Yeah. $899 for this yoga tablet. This ThinkVision monitor here, it says T32P. It's a 20. It's a what they said is a commercial LED monitor. The regular price was $780. It's $557. This was actually the suggested pairing with the P340 tiny workstation that we're getting to. This is what they had paired as a bundle. Awesome monitor. I mean, LED monitor, really, really good features and so on, but you'll probably find better. It didn't have a lot of.
That's
$500?
ridiculous. $557 for a monitor.
Yeah, I know. I would never.
Come on, that's nothing. No,
Something-
keep going.
Yeah, something's
Yeah.
off.
All right. They've got an Apple Mac Mini, 8 core for $699. I think that's probably close to retail. Apple was very tight on how their retailers sell it, and they don't usually let them do deep discounts.
I think Costco is selling for a similar price. I was at Costco.
Yeah, so I think
this
it's
week.
pretty. Yeah, they
I just
really
don't know
have
if
it
it's the
tight
same
control.
one. Yeah.
It's an awesome machine, though. Remember,
So
I
with
used to
the
mention.
new architecture, it's probably no longer possible to run Windows on it, right? Without not as a VM. I'm talking as
No, that was
directly
true.
boot to
That was
Windows.
true from the beginning.
Dual
with
boot?
when they switched
No,
to-
on the Intel ones you could.
but it wasn't. You had to. There was a workaround, but it wasn't like native. You couldn't just go in and install it. You had to do something to change.
You had to crack the bootloader,
Yeah.
but the Intel CPU was an Intel CPU, so
Yeah.
Windows would run natively on it.
Yeah.
I
So
was
no,
thinking
they're getting
because
more restrictive.
They have
Yeah.
the better priced PCs now. It's ridiculous.
Isn't that
right?
interesting?
So,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. They're
Because-
using a different architecture. I can't buy
Yeah,
it.
they make
to
and they
run
make their
Windows.
own chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're making their own.
Well, you know what? Too, they may have backloaded their inventory. They may have anticipated,
Maybe.
hey, we need to have a lot of stuff on hand, not just in the just in time. So who knows? Maybe they've got more and they
Right.
can discount them, and they say, hey, now's our chance to grow market share. Who knows?
Maybe.
Oh, by the way, I used to mention at Costco how the best place to buy a UPS was Costco. It still is. And the 600 VA one that I really like was 44. That was the regular price. I'm sad to say that is now the regular prices have been updated to 49.
Oh,
I know it's still good for 600.
Mhm.
I don't remember if it's a Cyber Power or I think it's a different brand, but they also have a larger one too. It's still just a little over $100 for a high capacity one. So they still have it. All right, we continue. Lenovo ThinkStation P340 Tiny Workstation. This is an i5 it's still, I've installed several of these, but they were always i3s or maybe one of the other two processor
That's a
logical
10th
4.
generation. 10th generation.
Yes, it's amazing. But this is a hell of a machine. Tiny machine, but it's got so much built into it. The two that I support at this one accounting office, it's just I've never had. Well, I'm not going to say anything. So if I say something, they'll call me this week. I'm broke.
All right.
But this is the new generation. It's got 512 SSD, 16 gig of memory, i5. I don't know. This is the 10500 i5 is not the very latest, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's like two generations back or something. It's good.
Yeah. So $849, which is $189 off what I guess the list price. And then they've got a iBuyPower gaming desktop. This is an i7 10700F, 16 gig, 480 SSD, plus a 1 terabyte hard drive for $1,249. I just can't. I mean, we used to spend $3,000 for a 486 SX system, right? And that was okay. Not that it was okay, but it was normal. I just can't wrap my head around these prices because I just don't. I've never spent this. I mean, proportionally, right? So it's okay. I mean, if I was really into gaming, I would probably wind up spending this or more. All right, this is for you, Amnon. Samsung 49-inch curved monitor. This is like a portal to a different world, the way this is set up. This is awesome.
Or it's like a gym for your neck.
That's
it. Yeah, you got to turn your head depending on how far back you sit. Chiropractors will love this, or a physical therapist, right? So you need to do neck range of movement exercises every day. So I've got you covered.
Yeah. Do you have a cranky neck?
That's it.
We got the solution for you.
You can write a prescription for this.
Spence, this is some special that you come up and then you knock it all down.
No, I would love to have one of these. I think it's awesome. 49 inches. That's insane. 178-degree viewing angle. That's incredible. Oh, boy. All right.
This is like sitting in the front row of a movie.
It's got 2 USB-Cs, a display port, HDMI, and 3 USB. So it's also a hub. So pretty cool. But $999, and supposedly the list price is $1,466.
You know, usually you connect the USB hub to bring things closer, but with this one,
you got to move it away.
It's all the way to the side. So I'm not so sure.
Oh, you need to get this and buy a surplus, one of those overhead lamps that they use in a dentist's office. You can attach it to the ceiling and you just move it in and out like as you're sitting in your chair, depending on what you're doing. So interesting.
All right.
So they got a couple of deals on Kingston M2 format SSDs. They've got a 500 gig for $42.99. They've got a 2 terabyte for $176. Got a USB-C triple display docking station for $56.99. And Diamond
triple display?
Yeah, it's triple display. That's what it says.
Well, triple display probably means HDMI, DisplayPort, and VGA.
I didn't look at I didn't run down the detail on looking at the ports. I can't tell it. I can see it looks like at least 2 HDMIs. And maybe 2 HDMIs and 1 display port.
Maybe.
So even though you just put a DisplayPort HDMI adapter on it, that's all. But possible to have 3 monitors and a docking station is pretty good. I didn't look, like I said, looks like it's got an Ethernet port. Probably has some, those might be USB ports on the front. Can't tell. But $56. Seagate 4 terabyte expansion drive for $104. And then I just saw this thing. And I said, this is interesting. I don't know if anybody would benefit from this. But remember when we used to look at CD and DVD duplicators, Amnon?
Yeah.
And I don't know, what did we do that was, I needed to have something that was to duplicate flash drives at one point because I would hand them out at meetings with software on them. Just presentations and stuff.
$489. Jeez.
And I used to have them made. I'd have to go through the marketing department. I said, I need a bunch of these because I'm doing a tour and I need 500 of them. And they would contract it out and I would get 500, one gig flash drives back with presentations on it. But I still have a bunch of these logoed ones. But yeah, interesting. USB 1 to 5 duplicator, fast erase, fast copy, single pass, multi-pass. That's really cool. 49. I thought that was a interesting thing. All right. So the next thing was just I came across 2 interesting products. I want to look this, and again, it's Tiger Direct Business. They did have consumer versions of routers and Wi-Fi stuff, but they also had access points. And I said, that stuff's going to be expensive. But I went in there and I found this TP-Link AC 1750 dual band gigabit ceiling mount access point. And I said, okay, that's just the access point. It's going to be expensive because you're going to need a controller. Well, it turns out the controller is software. It's a cloud-based controller. And it supports, you don't have to have, they do have a hardware controller if you want to have one local, but you can do cloud control of this thing. And I'd say, this is very interesting. The price is really good for this is an AC, 2.5 and 5 gigahertz, 2.4. And it does support power over Ethernet installation. I thought this was really cool. Not that I don't know if you're going to use it in your house, but if you're building a house or you have a business where you want to install Wi-Fi and you don't want to have a lot of exposed stuff, this is a neat product. So 102, simultaneous 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, seamless roaming, which I mean, that's pretty much a table stake now that you have to be able to have in a system like this. Dynamic handoff as you move around the building without interruptions. So this is great because it supports that for streaming. Power over Ethernet standard is covered. It has a secure desk network with multiple authentication items. It says it'll use SMS, Facebook, Wi-Fi, vouchers, attendee wireless security, and abundant wireless security technologies. I just can't get over how, and it says free cloud centralized management or Amada app. And Amada app for ultra convenience and easy management. I'd love to buy one of these just to play with it. Band steering moves dual band devices to the wider 5 gigahertz band for faster connections. That's incredible. I'm just that these features are available in a product that's so inexpensive. I think I'm going to buy one of these just to play with it. It'd be fun. All right. So then I know there's OB High and all these other products out there, but I was pleased. I clicked on telephony to see, well, what are they selling? What are they featuring? And what's this one of the ones they were featuring? This is a Grandstream HT813 VoIP adapter. It supports 2 SIP profiles. It's got an FXS and an FXO analog port. Supports fax. It's not a gigabit, but I don't really think you'd need a gigabit.
You don't.
And it's got a lot of good features on it. 2 SIP profiles. It's got failover. It's got Lifeline support, FSX support, hardwired to FXO in case of power outage. So if you do have a power outage and you want to roll over to an analog line, you can automatically. So automated secure provisioning. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know that this price is good, but
the OB High with 2 lines you can find either, brand new on eBay or on Amazon for about $49, $59. Okay.
Is it comparable with the features?
Yeah, I don't know what it is rolled to a landline. You cannot connect the landline to an OB High. You connect Ethernet. I don't think this is correct. Because unless they have more than, never mind. It's not, most people don't have a landline anyway, so never mind whether it can or it cannot.
No, we used to have, when we sold VoIP.
When was this?
PBXs.
When was this?
Oh, a long time ago. I haven't done this in a long
Back
time.
then, there were a lot of landlines. Today, you don't see
well,
them.
for backup.
Yeah.
There were a lot back then.
Yeah.
SIP was not reliable yet, not a reliable service. But what you did was you used SIP trunking with failover to landlines, to another type of trunk, T1, whatever, T3, because you needed.
Okay, I don't see anything here mentioned. You just said landline. I don't see anything mentioned about landline.
It's a T38 fax. It's a fax adapter.
But it says lifeline support. FSX port can be hardwired to FXO port in case of power outage, which says that you can use one of the analog ports as a backup if you lose power. It automatically closes the relay and you go to the backup port. That was a typical feature on, like, if you had a small, we sold something called the BCM, and that had a full IP, voice over IP engine in it, basically, with a SIP or traditional trunking, which you'd set it up with SIP, but you'd always have a couple of lines of backup in case SIP went down. So,
well, most phone providers now they don't even their trunk it's all SIP. I mean, it's 100.
Oh yeah.
You won't find hardly any company that will still provide a physical line.
The problem we had back then selling this stuff was that to the small market, the large, big corporations that would go in SIP, whether they were providers or companies, they didn't have a problem because they contracted directly with the big guys who had huge SIP infrastructures that they were building out. It was the little guy who had, how many lines you want? 5. And the small companies that were they were leasing SIP services from the big guys and reselling them down to the local small businesses. It was really spotty in the beginning. Bad support, and the SIP standard is still kind of loose in that there are settings if the advantage to SIP when it negotiates is that they handshake and say, well, here's the session we're going to have, and we agree on these terms, and we go forward. But back then, the negotiation wasn't fully developed yet, and it's now out there. It's done. There's no question to it now. But back then, it was you could theoretically try to connect 2 SIP endpoints, and it would refuse the connection because it could not negotiate. So all right. So that's it for Computers 2K Now specials for 10/10/21. And when you receive your welcoming email from the aliens, everybody's going to get an email. It's going to say, resistance is futile. So don't, be nice when they come to the door, knocking on the door. Don't be surprised.
There's a great T-shirt called says "Resistance is fertile."
Yeah,
fertile. All right.
So a quick question about SIP. So OB High works with Google Voice as well as SIP, and Google Voice is completely free. Are there any free SIP providers? Other than
I think so. Yeah, I think
there are some. Well, so here's the thing. Some might be free, but if it's a traditional SIP provider, they're going to make you pay for E911. They're required to do that. I don't know how Google Voice gets away from it.
You got to pay the taxes, telecommunication taxes too.
Yeah, so there'll be taxes in E911. Even if you can, I'm sure there is. There might be some that will do outgoing calls for free, but I would doubt you'll find a SIP provider that would give you a DID, a static DID for free. That I don't know how. I still don't know how Google Voice gets around. I guess maybe they don't want to deal with the E911 because it's not technically SIP. You can't connect it. You can't connect SIP to Google Voice. I mean, Google Voice does not it's
there's
not.
there's no SIP trunk. There's no SIP
Yeah.
output.
So maybe I assume that's how they're getting away with that. But any
but think
any
about it.
SIP provider is going to require E911.
Yeah.
That you have to pay.
If I'm a company in Europe, right, and I want a US number, why do I need to pay for 911?
They're required to. You have to. As a phone provider, they're required to offer you 911 service.
The U.S. number has to be registered
to an address for 911
purposes, and they don't care where it. You have to
say
give
whatever.
them something.
No.
Yeah.
I think what Gal is saying. What if he's in Europe?
No, it doesn't matter because it's a U.S. number.
And the U.S. It's a U.S. number that is being now. I'm sure you can get a dial-in number that is like a forwarder, like an email forwarder that you don't have. But if you're making calls out, you have to have E911 through every SIP provider that I've seen. I'm sure there's some that maybe don't follow because it's a law. I mean, they're required. The I don't know who manages the phones. FCC. It's required by them. I'm sure there's some that don't follow it. But if you're making a call out from a phone on a SIP provider, they are required to stand by 911 service.
And there may be something
they have to offer.
There may be something you can put in the profile to say that this is a virtual number, virtual address, so that they don't. If somebody were to call,
if you're only receiving incoming calls,
then
and if you're it doesn't matter if you're just receiving calls on it. Great, because I'm sure you can go to a SIP provider and buy a call-in number that does not have dialing. As if it was like an alias.
One common strategy when long distance was expensive is that companies, if you're based in Europe, you would have a SIP trunk going to the US for any dialing that you were doing to the US. So it originated in the US. So you didn't pay for the SIP trunk. That was part of your infrastructure. You had your headquarters in Europe, you had an office in New York. You set up in New York a local switch with a SIP trunk so that if you were calling the US, you used a different prefix on your phone to give you a line basically in New York, and you'd make the call from New York to your customer in the US. So that saved you. You didn't pay for that long distance. Now long distance is so cheap. It just doesn't matter anymore. International dialing is just, you just get it.
As far as the E911, I can tell you for sure, because a couple of months ago when I installed an OB High for my doctor, we did it on a Friday afternoon, and there was a problem with setting up the E911 because it said that it did not recognize the address. And I was told that leave it alone. They can receive calls. They can just not make calls until this is set up, and it will probably be fixed during the weekend. Sure enough, it was, and everything was fine. So yes, you cannot make calls. What are you looking for, Gal? To make calls, to actually have a
I'm
landline?
looking for an alternative to Google Voice. Right now I have OB High and Google Voice, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
But they are the only option where I can have a landline without paying a monthly fee.
What's wrong with that? That's what I'm saying. Why are you looking to change?
I'm waiting for the day that option won't be available. I want to know what are my options.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what I ended up doing with my doctor again, because that's the latest one. Instead of I have the lines with Envio, envio.com. And I'm paying, I think, $60-some a year. And that's for unlimited incoming and 500 outgoing. You can get, the guy, Dennis, over at Envio was saying, look, if they are receiving calls, a lot of calls, just get the free one. And the free one means that you're paying a penny a minute for outgoing. Incoming are free, but you're paying. So far, we're looking at the account over there, and it's really, they're not paying that much for it. So it all depends what you do, but you can look at Envio and look at their plans and see that.
Envoy.
Huh?
Envoi. Envoy.
No, ANVIO. ANVEO. Envio.
Unveil.
Yeah.
Okay, there is an unveil.
Is that telephone stuff?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we looked at it in the past. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so there are ways. It all depends what you want to do and how much do you want to pay, but it works flawlessly. And actually, Envio has the call flow, like you can set up that if somebody you can tell.
Yeah,
you
I
have-
remember you talking about
Yeah.
that call flow.
So
Yeah, yeah.
all that is in there without paying an arm and a leg. Yeah, but I'm sure if Google Voice is going away, there'll be a lot of people that will jump in its place. I don't
That's
know.
the
that-
thing. Google Voice exists for such a long time.
Yeah.
There is no alternative.
Yeah.
So
Well-
I'm guessing nobody's going to jump in this pond.
No, right now there is no alternative because nobody can compete with them. But if they went
What are you
out,
talking? What are you talking? Nobody can compete with them. Anybody can provide, right? They do not have a monopoly on phone numbers. So all of these competing companies, nobody is pulling in users with a free offer.
right,
Nobody,
right.
right? So there is no competition, and
That's what I mean.
I'm guessing, yeah, but so that's I don't think if they go away, nobody's going to pick up that flag. They're going to say, yeah, we're going to give it to you for, I don't know, $1 a month. But if they do that, right, then voice over IP for free, that won't exist. Doesn't
No,
seem
not
that
for
way.
free.
And
not-
it seems
not-
like there's some regulation that is stopping that from happening, right? I remember when I was looking at options back in that was 2013 when I bought OB High, right? When I got to the States.
Mhm.
And I mean, UMA was looking like a fantastic alternative option instead of the OB High. But
Right.
if I use that, then they charge for the 911. I didn't want that. I mean, I have a cell phone for 911. I don't need that, right? So I'm paying it through my cell phones. Don't need anything else. So I don't know. It's I find it strange that
So you use-
there's no competition in the free market.
Do you use the Google Voice to call out?
All of my numbers, including my cell number, is Google Voice. All of them.
I have a solution. We create a company that we offer free lines, but they have to listen to a commercial when they make their call. So you call somebody, say, no, we got to hold on a minute. We got to listen to this commercial first, then we can talk.
Look, Google. It's clear that Google Voice, right, is funding this through other means.
Sure.
And they do actually. Google Voice specifically is funded directly by international calls, by their international call rating, right? That's a business plan behind Google Voice, and all of the rest is definitely used by Google to harvest voice communication recordings, right? That they do the transcription for voicemail, right? So that was used to coach their voice recognition. It's all clear that they are using the data that they are collecting via Google Voice, right? And harvesting and doing something with it, and that pays off for them because otherwise they wouldn't continue providing it for free. So it's clear that they have a different method of providing it, but Microsoft didn't step into this area. Amazon didn't step into this area. Hell, Apple didn't step into this area. So other large companies have never been interested in tapping that, right? So it's like it's like something, right? it seems like it's a dead end.
Oh.
And at one point, my landline will become a dead end. For now, OBI are the only ones supporting Google Voice, right? So it's either OBI decides to stop functioning completely, the Polycom will decide to scrap that line of products, right? Or Google will suddenly shut their service, and everybody with an OBI is completely screwed, right?
No, and not completely screwed, because you can use an OBI with others.
But
you have to
there's
pay
no
for it.
other free option. Yeah.
Correct. You have
That's
to
what
pay for it. Yeah.
I wonder how many business users are using Google Voice. I know I would, if I was going to use Google Voice in a business, I would just use it for find me, follow me features, call forwarding, so you could set up an inbound number that would, then you could do some interesting trees and stuff with it with Google Voice. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it. When I let my number lapse, but what I liked about it was one number to call, and then I could decide where to send it to. So that was good.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, Spence, you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. What would you consider to be best practices if you were a small company and you didn't want to have to keep calling somebody every time there was a Windows update that broke your machine? Now, I've got different customers who won't touch it, don't really have the skills to do it. And I have people who have a smart person with a PC.
Won't touch
but
what?
They're getting very frustrated because they say that every time there's an update, their network goes away, their printers go away. And I mean, I've looked at it from both perspectives. From Microsoft's perspective, they tell you, restart the machine, check that you have the latest drivers, go to the manufacturer, whatever. And then the manufacturer is saying that it's Microsoft's fault.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not their fault. So what would be a measured response that you could give to somebody to say, well, you know what, this is just the way it's going to be? There really isn't anything you can do to prepare for this.
There isn't.
So, no, that's the frustrating part, is if I've got people in medical offices that have one computer person who knows how to do, and I said, the layered updates, don't let them just automatically go, because every machine was set up for automatic updates. So don't do this anymore. So the most you can delay it now is 30 days. So,
okay.
There's probably a workaround that you can get it to delay longer, but not built into Windows. So even 30 days may not be enough.
Spence, I used to believe the same thing. These days, I let it do it automatically. And knock on wood, no problems. And I had a bunch of problems with this machine right here. Now, I don't. I'll come in the morning and look, and oh yeah, there was an update. I understand what you're saying, but no, I don't know of any such entity that you can.
No, I'm not asking for an entity. I'm saying, what advice would you give a customer who is having these issues?
I would go, and first of all, I would have to see why is he having the issues? Because when is the last time we heard about issues with updates that were widespread? I mean, it's been some
widespread.
Time.
No,
it's been some time.
I have heard of issues recently. Yeah.
So you need to go and see, because, and I remember Nick was saying that it's probably something on that machine that is not configured right, and then it screws up. And
I
find what it is and fix it.
I did go there. This is about 4 months ago.
And
I updated all the drivers that I could from each printer drivers, network drivers that I could do. And now we're back to it again, where they're having this. And these machines were designed, built as Windows 10 machines, purchased as Windows 10 machines. And
so what stops working, for instance?
One machine got an update, and the network and of course, the local printing isn't going to work if the network doesn't work.
Right.
but the network didn't work. And when they fixed that, the printer drivers or the printers were not there. They just said,
So they
you know,
could
grayed
not
out.
get on the internet or to their server or anywhere.
Well, the
then.
individual machine could not connect to the internet. Now the hazard in this office environment is they use a mishmash of wireless and wired.
There you go.
And I said, you need to get them all. And I had them attach all of them directly, but I don't know if they're falling back. Now, what happens after a Windows update? Does it it should automatically go to Wi-Fi connection as a default. Now, the other day I was working on a machine and I did a restart or something.
It doesn't
and
necessarily.
it went right to the Wi-Fi, even though I was connected to Ethernet. I'm like, wait a second, I don't want it to go to the Wi-Fi. I want it to connect to the Ethernet. So I had to physically disconnect the cable and replug it again to get the Ethernet to be recognized and start. So that could be another one of their issues.
So are you saying that you disabled the Wi-Fi adapter and yet it defaulted to it?
No. I'm saying that the Wi-Fi, this is a laptop. On a desktop, I mean, now desktops are coming with Wi-Fi, but.
So why not disable the Wi-Fi?
I did now, but I didn't because up till this point, it was never a problem. So
yeah.
it's the first time
I
it
disable, maybe that's why I don't have this problem. I disable all the Wi-Fi because everything is hardwired. So
you just understand that these offices they don't have a paid IT person.
But you are. You're there.
No, they're not going to have me come in there. It's they want to try to do it themselves.
Well,
so
no, if they don't have anybody, come on, this is like saying, I have a car and I don't want anything to happen to it, and I don't want to pay a mechanic to go to.
I agree.
You can't.
I know that, and I'm charging them for my advice.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want me to tell them what to do, I'm going to write something up, and they're going to pay for it.
Absolutely. So, that's the best practice. That is the best strategy.
One strategy for if you are managing this and you want to try to deal with it is have a backup of providing drivers. So remember that tool we talked about, Snappy Driver Updated. If you use that on the machine, then it downloads a cache, right? So even if you upgraded and something is wrong, you spin up that application, and you do not go and use the latest or ask it to download anything. You use what you already have downloaded, right? And it can reinstall the drivers for you. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I don't think this particular customer has the skill level to do that. But what they're telling me they're doing is they're rolling back the update. Now,
they know how to do that?
They know how to do that.
And that works for them?
Supposedly. But I'm thinking, I have never rolled back a Windows 10 update. I know one customer of mine had an issue because it was a TPM issue. He was using an older laptop with a USB TPM that his company said that you have to use Internet Explorer. You couldn't use any other browser to access the secure connection back to the company. So the problem
you roll
was
back to the version that doesn't remove.
Yes. So he had to keep rolling back the Windows Internet Explorer version to get it to work. Finally, the company supported more browsers. But it was not fixing itself. So he had to roll it back every time.
Well, that's a specific situation. And of course, he has to. Yeah. If there's no support, then
I've never rolled back a Windows feature update or major update.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
But I hear that people have to. But I'm writing this up because I need to understand that they're sophisticated enough to stick their finger into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when you talk to them and try to understand what's going on, you can tell that they really don't have a big picture
of what's going on,
how to do of what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, wireless, it's great. We'll just use it, connect it using wireless.
Yeah.
But the machine in the back doesn't work that good. Well, it's because you're in the back and you're in a doctor's office and you've got shielded walls and all this other stuff
Mm-hmm.
that you need to. And it turns out there is a wired infrastructure, but they weren't using it. I said, connect everything to Ethernet if you can.
Absolutely.
They had a switch outage once too. What the good news though was that the switch just needed to be reset. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So
well, thanks, guys. I mean, I know that if I sat down and thought about it, I'd come up with a plan. But the point is that
that's actually what you need to do, because you need to market it as such. This is what, and give it to those customers.
No, I'm the guy. If the system was down, it was down for a couple hours. They'd call me. They want me to come.
Yeah.
But this is a doctor's office.
Yeah.
I can't afford to be. It's interesting. I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah. All right. So Apple says that as of January 31st, 2022, all applications will need to offer people a method of deleting their accounts. This applies to all iOS, iPadOS, and macOS apps. The company announced this requirement alongside other App Store guidelines changes at the Apple Worldwide Developers Conference in June as part of a push to give users more control over the data. As The Verge notes, Apple is only requiring developers to let people initiate deletion of their account from within the app. So apps might send you a website or even a chat with an agent before you can actually close your account. What are they seeing that they are doing this? I mean, some people may delete their account by mistake.
No, all they're saying is you might be able to delete your account if you go to the website or whatever. But they're talking about, okay, so I downloaded WhatsApp, right?
Yeah.
I downloaded WhatsApp. Now I want to stop using WhatsApp. How do I delete the account? They are saying if you're running on iOS and you want to be in the App Store, you must provide a method of deleting the account from the app.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. So most systems today, you can very easily create the account through the app, right? Because they want you to join, they want you in. But deleting the account usually requires going to the website, entering the passwords again, right? You don't have a process, an ingrained process within the app that allows deletion. And so I'm guessing they are either keying towards privacy conscious users, which we're getting more and more of them, and also for the ability of, hey, you're uninstalling the app, it will probably option, hey, do you want to also delete the account? And you could answer. But if the app doesn't have that feature, right, then that will never be possible. It's actually an interesting. I think it's the first time I'm actually applauding Apple for a move on that is going to be painful for the developers. It's definitely going to be painful for the developers, but it sounds like a very good move. I don't see a downside yet, except it's going to bother a lot of developers because it means that most applications, small or large, right? Most applications do not comply to that. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. And on the other side of this comes Facebook, a developer who made a tool that let people automatically unfollow friends and groups on Facebook, says he's been banned permanently from the social networking site. Louis Barclay was the creator of Unfollow Everything, a browser extension that allowed Facebook users to essentially delete their news feed by unfollowing all their connections at once. Facebook allows users to individually unfollow friends, groups, and pages, which removes their content from the newsfeed. The algorithmically controlled heart of Facebook, Barclay's tool automated this process, instantly wiping users' newsfeed. And in response, Facebook sent Barclay a cease and desist letter earlier this year, saying he's violated the site terms of service by creating software that automated user interaction. So here it is. What do you say to that?
I'm saying I wish someone else will find a way of providing his service. I would recommend for him to stop. He has become too popular, and so he came on Facebook's radar. And Facebook has stuff like that in their EULA baked in from day one. So he's not the first. He just probably made a very good one. So I just hope somebody else will come up with a different way.
And
I wish I've heard about this earlier because I was dealing with stuff like this week. And yeah, it's a pain going through. I'm trying to clean up my Facebook account instead of deleting it. Just, unliking everything and just keeping the connection to people. I just figure out if I'm going to delete it, I'm going to lose the network that I already have. And the network is the people, right? That's the only thing I'm interested in Facebook. Just the connection to the actual persons that I know in real life that I want to keep the connection with. And Facebook is the only connection I have. And so there's two approaches to this, right? One is reach out to all of these, tell them I'm opening a new account and asking them to friend that account. And some those who are active on the platform, right, they'll probably react immediately and they'll do that, and that's not a problem. I don't really worry about those who are active on the platform and won't react, because if they don't want me as a connection, I don't care. And what I do worry is I will delete the account, and then those who are not very active, those who enter Facebook like me once every 6 months, right?
Yep.
They won't see that message after the account is deleted. And so I don't want to, if I'm planning to delete, I want to delete the account completely. I've already downloaded the copy of all of my data. GDPR makes that, made all of those companies make it very easy. So that's great. But yeah, so now I wish there was a reset account option, right? That would allow me to decide what to keep. And there's no regulations for that. There's the only regulation is about allow delete. Dave says everybody delete Facebook and go to MySpace. Maybe that's the same problem of sending messages to everyone and tell them, hey, I'm on that now. So yeah, it's.
But you already done it. You already deleted.
No, I haven't. That's
so
why I'm
see
not
if you can get it. I don't know. It's called unfollow.
Yeah, so
unfollow everything.
It's blocked, and I search for it.
Yeah,
it won't work probably now.
Oh.
But one thing I do find interesting. So I think the news article is interesting because it says something, and this is the part I'm not sure because I haven't read everything. So it's not that they banned the extension. I think they banned the person.
Yeah.
The developer itself.
Right.
And that is interesting. And that part, I don't know. I don't think this guy is going to go on a legal battle because he has no. I mean, he doesn't have any.
He shouldn't spend the money.
Insurance here, right, or anything. So he'll probably just gonna shut it down. Other people might take on his extension if it's open source. I don't even know. But it's like it's.
Yeah.
I wonder if this news noise will help in any way of directing Facebook to maybe provide such a feature.
I doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah, I really doubt
Yeah.
it.
And we didn't talk about the big story of the week about Facebook going down.
Oh yeah.
But
well, everybody's
as-
experienced it.
As a result, this is an interesting little story. Messaging app Telegram gained over 70 million new users during Monday's Facebook outage.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is the interesting thing. While the outage was going on, right? A friend hopped on Signal in an old group that I
Yep.
created for a parallel to a WhatsApp group, and he says WhatsApp is down, so I'm texting here, and I didn't know about that. But at that time, Telegram stopped working for me. And then so at first I thought it was like a more generic
Instagram, you mean?
related issue.
Telegram
No, Telegram.
Okay.
Telegram, yeah.
Okay.
Because I was in a chat, in an active chat with somebody in Israel over on Telegram.
Telegram.
And the chat started to disconnect all the time.
Oh.
And then reading about Facebook and stuff, at first I thought Facebook and Telegram, they're using some shared back infrastructure and something's failing there. And then I understood it was just Telegram not handling properly the load.
The load that they just
that was really weird. That was fantastic to watch.
Oh.
Telegram recovered rather quickly, more quickly than Facebook, the 5-hour outage of Facebook. But yeah. And reading about the technical details about the outage, that was really interesting as well.
Well, Nick is not here. It's always DNS.
So that's the thing. It wasn't DNS. It affected. DNS was the second casualty. It was their BGP routers, the backbone of bridging and routing protocols that publishes the existence to the main DNS servers, right? That one, it's like Facebook.com. You could, if you had the IP, right? I think that wouldn't even work.
No, it wouldn't.
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's not just DNS, right? It was more than that. That was really, really, really interesting.
Did they say if it was in-house, their in-house router, or was it a provider, or?
No. Everything in-house. Everything more than that. All of their internal services dropped down. Oh. So they had trouble entering physically to the data center because the door locks are based on their internal system. Yeah, it took them. That's part of why the outage was so long.
Because they couldn't get to it, yeah.
Because the solution was to go physically to some of these routers and reboot them, and
they couldn't,
and that would, and they couldn't access physically. It was like it's such a bizarre case, and I think that is the most interesting thing, and that is the most interesting point is a malicious player couldn't have planned this.
Oh, right.
This could only happen because of a fiasco of internal setup. This is something a malicious player wouldn't even think about trying to access those systems because they probably can't.
Because they don't know about them.
No, it's they're not. You can't get an internal mapping of your routers easily, even if you're within the system, right? You need some so specific knowledge in order to wreck
think
that
about
part.
the fun some consultant's going to have with this when they have somebody do an analysis, because it's like watching those shows that do the FAA investigations of a crash. It turns out it isn't one thing; it's 10 things. They realize it didn't do this.
Eventually,
they forgot that, and it wouldn't have happened if any one of those 10 things didn't happen.
Look, this is the digital equivalent to Chernobyl, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an interesting one.
So I wonder if it was I know they didn't say anything yet, but was it a BGP update? Or was there some?
They haven't revealed anything about specifics except that it was internal configuration. That's the only thing that I've seen.
And to tell you the truth, I don't think they should reveal. I don't think
they have I don't think they have an option because they're a public company and they're.
Yeah, but I mean, when you reveal things like that, you give the bad actors ideas of what they should attack at a certain to bring something down.
It would be better to blame it on a single employee making a coding error.
Yeah,
because that would be something you can't defend against, and you can't like you said, Gal, you can't inject that into somebody's business operations. So it'd be better to say, oh yeah, the guy, when he was typing in the update, he applied the wrong one, or he did this, or he did that. So Nick, we're talking about the Microsoft or the Facebook output.
I doubt stockholders will be quiet about it. So I'm thinking they have no choice but
no, that hurt.
At one point,
that hurt. That hurt
first
them
of all,
bad.
they were hurting already. If you look, so at first I thought their stock value was affected directly by that. But if you look, they were in a down spiral the whole week, maybe the whole month. So that one was just because you remember that was the day after the Senate hearing or something,
right?
Or the day before the Senate hearing. They're dealing now with the whistleblower things. Haven't looked into what she revealed, so not that interesting.
All I know that it was right in the middle of me doing a show, a BNI show.
Yeah.
You don't have a number to call Zuckerberg?
Do you know how many views you have online on Facebook when you're live?
No.
You ever looked at it?
No. And I couldn't care less. I mean, the thing is, most people are watching it on YouTube or Twitch or VIMM. Facebook is like the last thing. It's just for people that are on Facebook. So I don't think anybody noticed it. But when I saw that something was going wrong, I said, uh-oh. But I looked and I checked and everything was still going out. And I realized, oh, it's Facebook. Yeah. So that's... Gal, are you familiar with Nearsoft?
Yeah.
And NIR?
Yeah.
Great utility. They have
what?
Great utilities they have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're fantastic utilities.
If anybody needs, and it's free utilities that you can get there, nirsoft.net. All kind of things about Wi-Fi, from Wi-Fi to anything. They cover almost like everything.
It's not they, it's him. It's just one person.
It's a him.
Yeah. It's
unbelievable.
Neil Sofer.
Neil Sofer?
Neil Sofer.
Sofer. Interesting. But
he's been around since the 90s.
I just came across
not the 90s, 2001. I've been using him for forever. I've tools from him. Most of them are outdated. But there are a few that he keeps updated. There are some that are staple. I think one of the most popular tools he has there is the blue screen viewer, one that looks at dumps of blue screen that you had and give you a very quick view into them. So that's one of the most popular one that from him that I use.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to. I mentioned Scoop SH in the past, and Scoop SH has a bucket specifically for Nearsoft to easily install from the command line. So if anybody's using that.
Last night, Hannah came over. She wanted, I had a MacBook Air that was in a drawer, and she said she needed it because she wants to build an app that will allow her
Yeah, I remember we talked about it. Her
Dexcom,
insulin pump.
insulin pump and Dexcom, and it's called something about a loop that will actually
Yeah.
be doing it automatically. And I said, yeah, you can have it. Now it's been there for about 3 years. We took it out, and she's firing it up. She said, what's the password? I said, I don't know what's the password. I went looking. I couldn't find
no.
anything. She ended up actually having to reinstall the OS, which wasn't such a
Obvious.
big deal.
Yeah,
but there was
you
nothing
can do it
on
over
it.
the internet.
Yeah, there was nothing
Just
on
plug
it.
it in. Yeah.
But it was interesting. And the one thing is the date was wrong. She said that she couldn't even do the installation from the internet because it kept on hanging. And she went and reading, and somebody was telling, oh, you need to make sure that the date is right and type it this way. And when she did it, everything went. So I was looking for a utility, like for Windows 10, I have a utility now that will go and change your password. And she couldn't find anything. I mean, she spent some time online reading, how to reset, how to this, how to that, and ended up that actually redoing it, reinstalling will be the best thing. So it's interesting. And for the Apple users.
By the way,
yeah.
Speaking about resetting passwords, I think with TPM 2.0 enabled on Windows 11, that is no longer an option. You will no longer be able to reset a password from a USB key. That's part of the protection going in.
Oh, somebody will come up with something. Of course, not now.
And
we'll see.
No. If you will be able to reset, you might be able to reset the TPM key, but once you do that, you basically throw away the encryption key that allows you access to the OS, and you're screwed. So that's the whole idea. It won't be an option anymore.
So the best thing is no password.
Or
write it everywhere.
The best thing, ironically, is hook it up to a Microsoft account, because then you can reset the password online, but you are exposing yourself to Microsoft.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the move of what they're planning on. Yeah. So we're gonna move to the same model as Macs, right? Where there's no way in from the outside. It's a good thing and a bad thing, It's like it's a mixed bag. It's pros and cons.
Yeah. Here is we're talking about Apple, and a new survey has reached a startling conclusion. iPhone apps tend to violate your privacy just as often as Android apps do.
Oh, really? I was saying that forever.
Overall, we find that neither platform is clearly better than the other for privacy across the dimensions we studied. That's from the academic paper entitled, Are iPhones Really Better for Privacy? And presented by researchers from the University of Oxford. While it has been argued that the choice of smartphones architectures might protect their user privacy, no clear winner between iOS and Android emerges from our analysis, the paper adds. Data sharing for tracking purposes was common on both platforms. There is one big caveat regarding the new study. It was conducted before the introduction of iOS 14.5 in last April, which made opt-into tracking and app privacy labels mandatory on iPhones. So now it's even worse with iPhone.
Why did people think there's a difference? That's what I don't get.
Yeah.
It's like
The Apple mystique.
it's the. This is why I always say what I dislike about Apple is the way the company treats their user base. Apple treats their user base as idiots.
Oh,
And I'm sorry. And I know we have Apple listeners and they love their Apple stuff. But whenever I look from the outside and I look at how this company is providing the services for their customers, they're usually either lying through their teeth, right? Or especially when they are calming down a situation, they're either lying to their teeth or they're blaming somebody else. And they are no different than any other company. It's not like they're more evil or less or not. That's not the case. They're exactly the same. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing special about them.
Mm-hmm.
They make great products, but they treat their customers in a very, very condescending way. And that is why I shy away from their products, right? I always find they are they're like stamping cattle, right? That's the way I feel that they are treating their customers. That was my rant.
All right, it's fine.
Please, sir, may I have another?
Google has introduced a number of new eco-friendly routing tools to Google Maps, including the ability to view the route that's most fuel efficient and how much you can save on fuel with a slight detour. So I guess
is there an option for finding the best advertising on buildings and stuff on your route? Or people could pay Google to say, send people this way so they see my sign.
We'll get there. I think it's easier just to show the sign on the phone, though.
That's it.
That's what
they won't
Waze
look at the
does,
phone. If they're driving past it and it's something cool, they'll see it.
You know how we always read that the provider is responsible for what's on their platform. Here is something that came out of California. It says Cloudflare is not liable for the copyright infringement of websites that use its content delivery and security services, a federal judge ruled last week. Cloudflare was sued in November 2018 by Mon Cherie Bridals and Maggie Sotero Designs, two wedding dress manufacturers and sellers, that alleged Cloudflare was guilty of contributing copyright infringement because it didn't terminate services for websites that infringed on the dressmaker's copyright design. I won't read the whole thing, but obviously, if that means that if you have a website on Delta Force and you are my customer and you put copyright stuff on it, I cannot be held responsible. And obviously,
that's DCMA, no?
Well, I mean, what do you mean PCMA?
DCMA. That what DCMA says, no? That the provider isn't responsible.
No, but
there's always that.
But they can say the way that it goes is, and I had to put it in my term of service, that if there is anything copyrighted and I am being told by the company to take you down, I will take you down. Here, the complaint was that they did not take those companies down, those websites down, even though they were.
But as far as I know, the law, the federal law, says you are not liable. Right? That's what Facebook hides behind. That was Twitter hides behind. That nothing, not only copyright, everything like.
No, I'm talking about copyright.
Yeah. So
So we'll see. That's I mean, I don't know if it'll hold, but we'll see. All right, it's time. Anything else anybody has to add?
nope.
I will
more-
probably look at the only machine I have that I can load Windows 7 on is my Lenovo laptop because it's got TPM and one of the processors supported. So we'll see. I might do it just to play. I'll take the drive out and I'll do a clean install. and do a
TPM
migration.
2.0.
Yeah, I know. I realize.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
is it up to now?
That's it. As far as
2.0?
I know. Yep. All right. Well, thanks, Spence. Thanks, Gal. Thanks, Nick. He's there, but he's not there. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Dana, Dina, Arlette and Micha, Eleanor, Sarid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And again, remember, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is on WAAV in Wilmington, 980 The Wave. And I think it's 107 something FM. I'm not sure which. I can never remember. And Tuesday, 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection podcast or survival games on Twitch. 7 p.m., Infection podcast, one word, on Twitch. Talk to you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.